Hi, I'm Matt Hernandez, and this is Book Chat with You. In this and most every episode, I try to make this be about, well, short stories and having a conversation about it. Yeah, the last one was a comic book, and I will do some comic books, but I still, I like this whole short story thing. Now, I am going to try to give a brief synopsis of this story before I give some other thoughts and that type of thing. So the story is called Red Rocket by Mary Robinette Kowal. It's about a mother and her son. They're on Mars, and the story takes place around the 1950s, and the son is trying to do a pyrotechnic fireworks show. He is carrying on a bit of the family legacy. It doesn't seem to really be about family legacy. It seems to be about, the relationship between the mother and son and the about building community. Now, why pick this story and all that? Well, as I have a class online, I'm reading enough that it feels like my brain is going to explode. I don't feel like I'm the strongest reader and all that stuff, which is kind of ironic and funny and all that stuff, but hopefully makes me relatable. And, we read some interesting stories that I might want to make a video on, such as a story by David Sedaris and that I might want to pull up. But one thing that really grabbed me about this story is that as I want to talk about how stories can just be great for us to understand each other as people, you and I don't know, your family, your child, your spouse, your parents or something like that, just to talk about short stories that makes these conversations come out. But yet, I've been diving into things that are not fantasy or not sci-fi really. I mean, of course, there might be elements of that. I mean, as I think about maybe Carol Schild's story, I don't know, what was it called again? An apology, a pardon? I don't know. But then everybody's just like very apologetic for some reason in this one city in Canada. And I mean, it doesn't feel so realistic, right? But nevertheless, the things that are not maybe super obviously sci-fi or fantasy, but this story shows you that something could be sci-fi and still have those elements in it. And yeah, maybe if you're listening to this, you're like, dude, you're quite ignorant if you don't think that fantasy and sci-fi could have these elements of this human connection and these other themes and stuff in it and all that. It's like, yeah, if I read a story about 5 times and then I try to make a video on it and try to upload it online, I mean, maybe the timing of me reading one thing is the timing of you reading like three. I don't know. So it's quite as simple as that. This boy's mother, she's she's aging and in her and she's not as nimble as she used to be. And there's quite a few questions about if they could pull this off. I will admit that of course with the rush to make videos and I'm trying to leave to go to the gym in 20 minutes, more like 15 minutes, it's like I don't completely understand everything in the story about the IBM punch cards. I could follow the story. I could see the issue. I could see a bit of the drama. Like what happens in the story is that they almost have everything set up. The mother, in her celebration, she moves her hands up in celebration and it somehow hits the satchel on her son's like astronaut suit, their rented astronaut suits at that, opens it up, and then all the punch cards fly out and they're all out of sequence. I don't know exactly what all that means. I do like retro gaming and retro computers and stuff, but maybe not that quite that old. I mean, maybe the story it mentions several times, oh, I should have made sure that I had it quickly on search, but it has several times the Bradbury Space Station, mentions that twice. So I guess this harkens back to a time where I guess Ray Bradbury, and I mean I have read some of his stories, but maybe not enough to capture this era of his writing or such, where it's like you have that current year's technology, but there's still space travel. And I like that because, I have a novel I've worked on forever, which it has that, but in a sense, it kind of became that because it's like, I don't feel like thinking of new technology all the darn time for things too. So there's a bit of that. Okay. I put out a few highlights in this story and I'm going to go over them, give a few thoughts, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about the story. I will include a link to the author's website with the story because I guess she just put it on her own website. So the very first line, watching his mother kneel awkwardly in her rented spacesuit. So we already get a line a little bit about her her health or, her ailments or whatever like that. And I mean, it's quite interesting because at my age, I could feel little cracks and creaks and stuff in my body. But yet, only recently have I learned to be able to do like a headstand. But then I also have to pee about 30 times a day, also. So it's kind of interesting to kind of feel the juxtapositions one's body might give them as they get a little bit older, Here, off balance with unfamiliarity. In the light Martian gravity, the sudden movement tipped her to her side. I mean, just normal aging things, right? Normal aging things. No, it's good for me to remember I'm only a tourist these days, she says to her son. Okay, now this paragraph here, I'm going to read a full paragraph here. People were already filling the hangar with a cheerful buzz of conversation. Some folks had even brought blankets and carried sacks with picnics, like everyone was trying to recreate a holiday from Earth. Heck, the mayor had gone so far as to erect a bandstand and rounded up a horn section from somewhere. Darn good thing they'd have music too, given that between the dome and the thin atmosphere, the fireworks made more of a snap than a bang. But if his mom had taught him anything, it was that they were about building community. So what about you? When you're growing up and stuff, did you like fireworks? There are certain things like fireworks I appreciate more at my age. But I can remember being at Disneyland and thinking, who cares? You know? I mean, I'm from Las Vegas, which, we can have some pretty incredible fireworks shows as is, but it's never been like a hallmark of something I've really cared about in my own life. It's not something that I would pay very much attention to and all that type of stuff. But now as I get older, I mean, it's like I start to form this idea where it's like people don't fly a kite maybe because flying a kite is fascinating, which if my colleague was listening to this, I mean, he seems to really like flying kites for the sake of it itself. But to me, it's like you have something to do, and the same thing with like fishing or a variety of other things, maybe even hunting or something, where it's just like you're not just going to go out there and just stand out there, right? It's a time, you're with everybody else, and you're all sharing in this experience about looking up. Maybe now and then, like maybe nobody's looking up. Maybe everyone's looking up at their phones, looking up, pointing up, looking at the sky, right? And maybe that's what some of these things are, where if I've heard people talk about fishing, it's like, you don't even catch anything and you're just sitting out there and that's just enjoyable for some people, right? Okay. Her mouth quirked to the side in a sheepish grin. The external speaker on the suit crackled. I'll blame it on the suit instead of getting old. So I guess like there's a bit like a microphone almost in there, right? And as you make certain sounds or something, I don't know, and then it comes through the microphone. They kind of hear it, or through the speaker. Okay, so after all these cards fly about, what are they going to do? They end up asking the audience for some assistance. Can you help us retrieve these cards? Because all these cards are just flown about, and are they really going to pick them all up at once? As the cards was kind of coming out almost in slow motion, Aaron, the son's name, he goes to reach it. Oh yes, and the mother's name is she's unnamed. She's unnamed, which to me is probably going through one of those cliches and stories, right? It's like it could be the anybody's mother, and which almost could be interesting because I don't know if I could describe my mother in these ways or how you might be able to describe yours and such, but I guess there's probably enough people out there who can find something relatable with that, right? Which I wonder for the other books in or the other stories in this series, does the author follow this tendency that follow this where the mother is unnamed? Of course, there's a reason to. I mean, do we call our mother by their names and stuff like that? So, but then another paragraph here. So the mother says to the crowd, "We need your help. My son, Aaron Parkhill, has programmed a brilliant show for you, but that's an embarrassing mistake a bit. So we know the mother's last name, right? We have a good assumption about her last name. She let her voice drop to a conspiratorial whisper and held the microphone closer, so it sounded like it was sharing a secret with each person individually. But I dropped the cards. What I need y'all to do is help us get them back in order so the show can go on. She held the card over her head, so everybody can see the card, right? So she's holding it above her head. On the right side, there's a line of holes. That's the number of the card. Go over there where Aaron is. Wave, honey, sheepishly. Feeling like he was 12 again, Aaron got to his feet and waved. Go over there, grab a card, and sort yourself into a line. Remember when you were in school and had to sort yourself by height, just like that. So I like this too. The mother knows how to sort of get a crowd like this, right? So I'm leaving China very soon. And so I'd asked inside of a BJJ group, hey, does anybody, want to come and, let's go get like kind of dinner, maybe go get a few drinks after. I mean, I don't drink very much, but that's what you do in those occasions. I was messaging somebody quite a bit, and he's like, "Oh yeah, maybe a few of us kind of come together like this." But me, I'm not good at this. Are you good at this? If you had to go and like respond, like I can speak on a microphone just fine. I really can, but I don't always feel that if I made a command. But the mother here, the writer here knew how to put that out. We need your help, she exclaims. My son made a brilliant show. So, so first she calls to them, then she kind of makes a bit of a hook, but then she says she made the mistake, right? So she makes the mistake. So it's not him. He made a brilliant show. Come help me. And yeah. And then and then one of the last few lines, she built something better than fireworks. She built community. Yeah, I hope you liked this story, and I do think it was quite effective with some of that. I do think it's also quite a reminder, too, that sometimes we can enjoy these other stories and get some of those very human elements and stuff out of it. And yeah, I don't know what else to say, and somehow most of these videos or podcasts are about 12 and a half minutes. It's quite a miracle. So have a wonderful day, and I'll post it and see you later. Thank you. Bye.